Welcome back to Reverse Sweep. The Stage 2 Major is done, and FaZe will not be your back-to-back champions. They were usurped by Toronto Ultra, who came in and put on an incredible performance to take them out in the grand final. I'm your host, Katie Bedford, joined as always by Enable and Pacman. And be honest with me, did you expect going into this major that Toronto was going to win?
I think we were 2 of the 9 people in the CDL pick'ems that had Toronto win, Kitty. I mean, I was
9
confident.
people.
I was confident.
We are geniuses here on the Certo Reverse Sweep show.
No, there was not a shot in hell that I thought they were even going to make it to the finals, let alone win. Honestly, they just had an unbelievable tournament, in my opinion. All 4 players came to play. And when that happens, when the stars align, like, you can make a run like this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I had OpTic beating them in their very first match in my bracket.
I think pretty much everyone did, except for those 9 people.
I mean, it's just
Kleenex's family.
What they did this weekend was phenomenal. I mean, there's no way that any of us could have predicted that at all.
Well, and it started with, of course, that OpTic win. So let's take a look at how everything played out. It started Ultra with a 3-1 win over OpTic. Was kind of that first big surprise that we saw. And I guess maybe we should have read the tea leaves, because that continued on for them throughout the rest. The only upset they had, which I guess you wouldn't call an upset, would be when FaZe 3-1'd them, which would be kind of what you would expect FaZe to do. And then they kept on moving on. They took out Minnesota, they took out Dallas, and then they took out FaZe in the grand finals. Some other notable, you got to talk, of course, about the Minnesota OpTic match. I think we'll get into that a little bit later, but let's focus on Toronto first. So they started off with an upset, 3-1 over OpTic, and it looked like a good 3-1 too. They looked pretty solid there. They move on, they take out some of those major teams. When you look at Toronto now, what they did, Minnesota, OpTic, Dallas, FaZe. Pacman, what do you have to say about Toronto?
Honestly, this is probably the most improbable win I've seen since Evil Geniuses in World War II when they won champs. Like, this road that they went through, they beat the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seed. They beat all of the top teams excluding New York, but that's because New York got bodied. Yeah. But they ran through everyone, and they were clutching up in every moment that they needed to. That was the most impressive thing to me. They kept losing the game 1 hard points, clutching up and winning game round 11 search and destroys, clutching up winning round 5 offensive control rounds like against the Rocker. Every single time they needed to do it, they did it. And to me, that was the most impressive thing. Their teamwork was on point. And if there's one person that I owe an apology to, it's Bance.
Put it on. Yeah, you put it on.
I was someone who was also saying, if you're going to make an improvement on the team, it has to be Bance. And well, Bance pretty much shut us up through the whole entire
stage.
Yeah, Bance was incredible. Incredible. When they made that switch from inside methods, we were like, that's a lateral move. And in my heart, I still feel that. I thought Bance was the one that wasn't performing, not methods. He came in, inside plays really well, but Bance was the reason why they won. Cammy and Kleenex go crazy all the time. Bance hit this level that I don't know if you've ever seen him hit, and props to him.
And I think this was, what, Ian, the second time ever we've had an all-European team winning a major. I think Bance did it back in
IW. Warfare.
Yeah, so I mean, that's something that's also kind of been a narrative for a long time is European teams, all European teams, can you get it done at the highest level? And they were able to do that yesterday.
I mean, they have the potential. It's just about putting it together. You know, the consistency, I feel like with all European teams, it's hit or miss. Like you said, going into this major, Bance had probably one of the lowest KDs. He wasn't performing that well. He even tweeted out text to his fiance where he was like, I might as well just retire. Like, I don't got it. He had no confidence in himself. And then he dropped, a 1.1 in the major.
He had a 1.44 KD in the grand final.
Yeah, a 1.44 in the finals versus FaZe.
Against the best team.
He's going up against Simp and Abizi doing that. So it's like, if Bance is giving you 1.44, you're going to have a good time in the series, period.
Well, it wasn't just like Bance was carrying in that sense too, because you have Cammy and Kleenex who are playing phenomenally inside as well.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, and this is something I say a lot during my watch parties, is that I feel like Bance and Looney are kind of some of those players who, when you need them to get that clutch double, they always manage to get that double kill to either open up the hard point or save an S&D round for you. And Bance did that over and over and over for Toronto.
That's what I was shocked, because it's like, Bance, he has the experience to make those clutch plays, but it just seemed game after game in the finals, it was just him over and over again. And I do want to give some love to Insight, because He is the new pickup on the team. He had like 4,000 more damage in the overall series than anyone else in the lobby. I think that is insane. Like, you know, yeah, it wasn't really him in methods. Bance was huge for them. He was the X factor, but he still put on. And he was in challengers, what, 2 months ago?
No, yeah, he was doing his thing.
He got top 64 in challengers, and now he just won a major.
And he was getting some kills in Search and Destroy where I'm like, all right, this guy is real. Like across the map, beams.
Oh yeah, he's
making
got
good decisions.
He's got a little gunny on him.
Yeah, he
has a little
does.
gunny on him.
I remember in that first match against OpTic, it stands out to me in a round where I think OpTic should have won and gone up 2-0. Inside randomly turn around and just beam formal across the map, like 0.2 seconds. I was like, ooh. Ooh,
You're like, oh,
okay. And like he's been putting on this whole time he's been on their team. There's nothing but respect for him and that team.
Well,
And
I
guess
think
they made the
something
right
too,
choice.
I had talked with Insight when I did for CDL, we did a rookie watch piece. And you're watching so many of those same rookies suddenly starting to pop up in these starting lineups. And Insight, he was so wonderfully humble, right? He had such a humble mentality for someone who wasn't quite on the lineup yet. Methods hadn't been benched. But I think what he told me was essentially, I just want to support my team and hopefully get the chance to prove that I'm good enough to be in the league and help Toronto be great. And that's exactly what they did. And I mean, I think being able to go all the way, take down FaZe in such a dominant fashion.
They punched him in the mouth.
Yeah.
That was the first time in Cold War that like FaZe was on the opposite side of getting bullied.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they've
Every
had
S&D was painful to watch.
like even when they lost to LAG, you were like, oh, that was a trap game. You know what I'm saying? They thought there was
They're trying out bad maps. They're doing all these things.
Exactly. When Toronto played them, I was like, they are just getting outplayed. Like, they looked scared. They were on the back foot in that series. And it was weird to see. You don't expect it, especially because all those players have experience. They're all world. Like, you know, they played with the most pressure and came out on top. So, I don't know. Toronto they put it to them.
It just reminded me of how Dallas beat them last year, but it was even a little bit different because it felt like they were just getting out teamworked.
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah.
Like it looked like Toronto was ahead of them, just the way they decided to play the game,
They
their
looked
discipline, their
lost
teamwork.
in a lot
Yeah,
of it,
they made
They were running laps
They made
around
FaZe look lost in a lot of situations where we have not even seen them come close to looking like that against any team. So if you can do that to them, I mean, hopefully we can see them keep up a level that's somewhat close to this, so we have another top team in this league.
Yeah, and take example Bance again in the raid control that they played that went that round 5 that Toronto ended up winning. They won both controls over FaZe. It was that communication thing when you watch FaZe, because how many times did Bance flank them for crucial double kills that it just seemed like no one was talking to be like, where is Bance on the map? You would assume that they would have that communication, but speaking of FaZe, let's dig a little bit in more to them because, well, you did come from winner's bracket. You were top of your group for the second time in a row. You're looking incredible. You win your winners final against Dallas. Dallas now has a 3-11 record in map count against FaZe if you look at the winners finals and the grand final across both majors. And you get all the way to the major grand finals, and it's a best of 9. And, well, you're in a double elim and you only lost one series to lose the whole thing. So
That's tough.
That is tough. We talked about it before, even when they won, that the format is a little bit iffy. You should have something more than veto advantage when you come from winners bracket, but I'm sure they would never make this excuse. They did come out and win the first map.
Yeah.
Again.
But I mean, still, you want that. You literally did the hardest part.
I agree with you.
You know,
I definitely agree with you.
I don't know why they don't give them any sort of advantage. Well, I'm guessing it's like a time thing, right? And they say it's easier for the viewers to understand.
yeah, but is that not kind of insulting to a team if it's easier for the viewers, so it's a detriment for you putting in hard work?
No, without a doubt it is. Because, I mean, even if you look, they tied 6-6 technically, right?
In maps, there's 6-6
It's like,
maps.
and it sucks because I don't want to seem like we're not trying to give Toronto credit here, but say it went game 9. FaZe technically beat them in maps. You know, even if FaZe lost and Toronto won in the finals, it's like you need to find a way to give the winners bracket finals team an advantage.
A little something.
Something. The vetoes, like, or the side pick or whatever it is, that doesn't matter. Like, it has no effect.
Zero effect at all when it comes down to it. I always thought they used to do this back in the day. I don't know if you remember if you ever played in one, but say you played a team and you beat them 3-2. So sometimes it just resets you to beat them twice. And I always thought that's a little bit lopsided too, but sometimes they would do it where we just extend the series now to a best of 11. So now you have your 3 wins and they have their 2.
That's how it should be.
And the first team to get to 6. So yeah, you beat us 3-2, but you're only up on us by 1 map. You 3-0'd us, you're up on us by whatever maps. 3-1, same thing. The score will be tied, and we just go until it's over. And I feel like that's the most fair way to do it for both teams, actually, because no matter what you did in the winner's bracket, it translates over, and vice versa, and we go. But that is not to take away from the Ultras.
Yeah, no, not at all.
At all.
It is just, it sucks because it's like if it was either a best of 11 or say 2 best of 5, like FaZe was up 3-2 in this series. Like that is done and dusted. They would have already won.
Yeah.
I think Ultra deserved the win. I think they outplayed FaZe, but like still, you have to be able to give the team that is in finals from the winner side something, because like I'd be pissed if I was them.
It sounds weird that you lose one series in a
that's
double
what
format.
I'm saying. Like
and
they know they got outplayed.
Yeah.
Right? They know they got outplayed in the finals. But you lose one time and that's it. When you you made it that far, you worked that hard during the regular season to get the buys, and then you get to the finals and it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. All that was for nothing.
Essentially, you worked that hard to play 2 matches and then lose 1. Because that's all you start in winners 2, and then I hate the excuses sound, but you are playing a team that is hot. They're hot.
They played how many? 2 series?
They played 2 series
before?
and 2 big series. They beat Rocker and Empire. Those are 2 great wins to come off of.
They had
FaZe
so
just
much
sit
of
on
a
the side.
momentum build-up that they snowballed right into the grand final.
And they're not able to practice because all the other teams are out.
They're out.
That's how it is in a
And they
tournament.
don't want to scrim at that point, so FaZe is just sitting there twiddling
There's no
their
one
thumbs.
to scrim. These other teams are not scrimming.
They probably played like a challenger team, I would assume.
Yeah.
But that's not the same,
No.
So I don't know. It's tough. They lost 1 series. They lost tournament. They did get outplayed. I know that they know that, but still, that adds salt to the wound, knowing that it's 1 series and you're out.
Yeah, props to Toronto. Obviously, we don't mean to take away from that in any way, but we have seen that Activision does tend to listen when maybe formats for things might need to be changed. So who knows? Maybe there will be some adjustments there if they realize that for that team coming from winner's bracket, you're really not getting anything that makes it worthwhile. We'll see if anything changes for that. But let's also talk about Dallas. We've had them in our number 2 spot for a while in our old reverse sweep power rankings. We've kind of talked a little bit how they're shaky in that. So not to get into the rankings, but looking at Dallas and how their tournament went, at least in my eyes, they never really looked strong. They seem to rely far too often on game 5s, round 11s, clutch scenarios that come down to the wire. And well, you end up falling to Toronto, and instead of a 2nd place finish in the Major 1, you get 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to be so down on a team that got 3rd, but it's the way that they're winning, right? They're not dominating anyone. I feel like their only dominant win was when Krim was going crazy, and that was against the Subliners, right? Their very first match. Other than that, it's just like everything is down to the wire. Everything is super close. Every map's super close. They're playing them out for the most part. They got 3rd place, but I expect them to be more convincing.
Yeah.
They're not convincing in their wins, but they still are getting them most of the time. They went up against Ultra, and Ultra just did what they did to everyone else and just climbed right back and took the series from them. I'm not down on them, but I'm not sold on their dominance.
I'd have to agree. I mean, it's what Katie said. Even if you go back to the regular stage of stage 2, I mean, they're undefeated in like round 11 or whatever. It's like 7-0 or something. So you got to give them respect for that. Like they have the clutch ability and they're able to sustain series, because it could have been way worse than it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're streaky. They're not like that dominant team like they were last year. I think the only one who's been good, who I would consider like a top player right now in Empire, is Kyler. It's huge.
That's hoop, yeah.
Everyone else is just like hit or miss. And it seems like right now their S&D is really bad, even though they do win those round 11s, they clutch up. But they have like no dominant game mode. Which is what you wouldn't expect from a team like Empire, especially all those players. They're a tier below FaZe in Toronto, in my opinion. And like, there's a bunch of teams in that tier, and any one of those could beat each other in any given series. So yeah, they're just like, I don't know, they're kind of underwhelming to me, I would say.
Well, I think especially from what we saw last year, right? Like we saw so many great things from Dallas last year, and this year just like, yeah, you're winning, but you don't look particularly incredible.
I don't know if they can win with this roster to win a major.
Oh no. That's
Is that cap?
That's cap.
Is that cap?
That's cap. That's cap. They can definitely win with this roster. We have not seen, like, there's this Shotzzy level that he gets to where he's ridiculous. And once he hits that level, it transforms the roster completely. They can win with this roster. I'm not saying that. That's ridiculous.
Okay, I might have stretched
How long
it.
does it take for him to get there, though?
It took him until about March last year.
But hear me out. They started this game. People were considering them maybe even the best team above FaZe before the first major. They came in, got second, got the doors blown off by FaZe, and they've regressed in my opinion. They haven't improved in any game mode.
Yeah.
They looked worse in this stage than they did the first one. And this isn't 5v5 where like you can thrive off chaos. This is a very structured Call of Duty, and I think that could be a reason why some of the players aren't performing well. Because that's where they thrive at. They thrive off that chaos and the timings and whatnot. And they can win a tournament with this team, but how many more majors does it take before? Do you think that no matter what, they don't make a team change at all?
I don't think that they're going to be able to improve on the roster that they have. They have Zio and Krim. Krim in the win against Subliners, Krim was their best player. Krim is one of the best players.
True.
The best player in my opinion of all time. How are you improving upon this team? You have 3 young guns that are phenomenal. You just want to chip with a major championship with them.
Different game, bro. That's what I'm saying. 5v5 is a different ball game.
But I will say though, to your point about kind of the chaos thing, right? So that's what FaZe thrived in, and they got punished for it. But then look at this year, right? It's still those same players, and you have Crowder and the rest of the coaching staff there, and maybe Arcity's coming in and helping them kind of get that teamwork and that discipline. I mean, at least what we do know from last year is that Dallas took a little bit of time to really find their stride and become dominant. So maybe.
That's true. I just think they need to show something, some sign of improvement, because I think they did get worse. Even though the second and third is nothing to be ashamed about. But I know all those players, they're fighting to win.
They're champions.
Yeah, they're the reigning champs. They're not trying to get top 3. So yeah, maybe I overstepped a little bit with that comment, but I think we need to see something because they're just kind of getting by, and other teams are improving at a fast rate. Who knows if they don't find any improvements, where they'll find themselves in the third major.
You can't keep winning all those round 11s.
I understand that, but
eventually
second and third is a little bit better than getting by. I think that we're being a little dramatic because they've had close games. I'll take second and third getting by all day. Let me tell you that right now.
But you're not a champion. You're not a world champion.
You aren't a world champion either.
I didn't say I was. I'll take a second and third too. But for these guys, you think Krim is taking a second and third?
No, he's definitely not. He's definitely not. But they just need to get their teamwork back to that point so that all their young guns can thrive. Because I haven't seen like Shotzi thrive. Only Kyler, like you said. We've only seen Hoop strive. We need at least one more of them to be able to get to that point, so they can compete and win again.
Well, Dallas, we'll see if they can get up to pace, but what happens next for OpTic? So OpTic went out in the most incredible fashion I think any of us have maybe ever seen, or at least in many years. And
it's up there.
If you're unfamiliar with what happened, it was the distance in the fight against Minnesota, Game 5, Round 11. Accuracy was in a 1v3 on Moscow. Bomb was down. It was planted. And he jumps around the corner and he gets a triple kill, takes out Formal, Scump, and Dashy to win and eliminate OpTic. And when was the last time you ever saw something, a 1 in a million moment like Accuracy had?
That's the first time I've seen that, I think, ever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he saw 3 people. He just went around the corner and
I didn't even realize. Yeah, you saw like their reactions.
They're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I mean, that might be one of the most unluckiest situations.
Yeah.
In a series of all time, let alone SND Game 5, Round 11.
Yeah, what in the hell even happened? How often do you see people in these versions of COD where they're even sitting still for that long?
That's what.
It's like
the stars aligned.
The stars aligned for that moment. People were healing up, and everyone.
Well, Scump had 30 HP. I know that. I don't think Formal was full HP either.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were both weak.
Yeah.
That's fine. That happens a lot too. But they happen to be in the same line. The same line from that angle only.
If they were like an inch away from being in a straight line, Lamar probably doesn't get that 1v3. Someone probably shoots him. That was just super unfortunate for him because I think they played solid in the major. You know, they did get upset, or I guess you would call it an upset in the first round by Toronto. But I thought they looked good. Their S&D improved a lot too going into the major. To lose like that though is like, that's going to eat you because who knows how far they could have made it after
It's
that.
heartbreaking. I mean, it was
Yeah.
heartbreaking to watch.
Yeah, it really
I do
was.
think they messed up, but that was also the most unluckiest situation of all time.
I mean,
They for
positioning might have
sure-
not been great, whatever, but
It was terrible. But it was only terrible for how long? Like maybe a second or two?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, 1 second from there, when one of them slides to the left, Lamar comes around the corner and gets one, he gets traded or has to slide away or something happens where the round extends. It's just in that moment when he came around the corner, they were messed up. They were messing up. But come on, I mean, that's such a short period of time. It's just like, that's just so unlucky.
I don't think anyone could believe it. And like, there was that fraction of a second when you watched the cameras where everyone on Minnesota, everyone on OpTic, it took a second for them to process what had
it didn't
actually
register.
just happened.
Like, wait, did we win? Wait, did we lose?
And OpTic was like, no. I would have been the same way, because if you think you're Minnesota, if you're anyone besides accuracy, you're sitting there just like, damn, we just threw man in your head. And on OpTic, you're like 4v2, let's go round 11. So then to see the outcome that it was, oh god,
It was tough.
That was tough. That was tough.
I mean,
it's a heartbreaker. I mean, there's no other way to describe that than just absolutely heartbreaking.
there really isn't. And it's just the way that it's kind of how the season's been going for them too to this point. Like, even to get to losers, like I said earlier, Toronto clutched up against them heavily to get to beat them in their first match. So who even knows what?
Right.
I feel like the opposite team played fine, really. In reality.
they did.
But
That's
then
just
they
a
walk
tough
away
one.
with a top 6 finish.
That's a
at the end
tough
of the
one
day.
where you just got to get up and keep moving.
Yeah.
Because you got your ass knocked down, but like you just got to forget about that quick.
Well, I mean, all the folks on that roster, I think most of them with enough experience to probably be able to do that and keep rolling from
I don't think
what
they're sweating.
happened.
Like, it sucks, but
It sucks. It's a
But
really
move
crappy
on, new
moment.
stage, new
Exactly.
groups. I'm sure OpTic will be fine, but let's move on now to our MVPs from this tournament. A lot of moments, a lot of things that have happened.
I'll go first.
I got to decide this, but okay, I'll let you guys pick whoever wants to go first. But MVPs, most valuable player, I assume probably will come from Toronto, maybe not. But MVPs, who do you guys have?
I'll hook you up. I'll oop you this time. For me, it has to be Insight. The new player on Toronto Ultra, Katie. People thought this was a lateral move when it first happened. A lot of people didn't even know who Insight was. I would say, they were surprised that Methods got benched. Since being in the league, he's played phenomenal. I don't think he's really had a bad series. In the major, he played great, especially in the finals. Like I said earlier, he had 4,000 more damage than anyone else in the whole lobby. I think he outplayed RCDs tremendously in the finals too.
He had a tough series too.
RCDs did have a tough series, but Insight looked great. I mean, young kid. 2 months ago, I saw his tweet. He was in challengers getting top 64, and he just won the second major of Cold War. You got to give him the MVP. I think he has to be one of the main factors for the transformation of this Toronto Ultra team.
I mean, that's a great answer, but we all know. It was Ben Bance. I don't know what Bance that was. The only time I've ever seen that was Black Ops 3 in that run that they had at Champs, when I was like, this guy, the only person I thought was better than him at that time during that was John.
Yeah.
Where I was like, this guy is going crazy. And we hadn't seen that for a long time from him. I know that he has confidence issues, whatever it may be, a lot of different teams, whatever. Comes together with this team, and he showed out. Like, he played phenomenal, flanking phase over and over, every game mode. Like, I don't know what got into him. He ate his Wheaties in the morning, came out strong, but Bance deserves it.
I hope he stays consistent, because I love Bance. I absolutely love him. He literally looked like top 3 player in the game right now.
He did.
In this major, especially in the finals. I just hope it's not like a one-off, like you said. Maybe he got his mojo back, and we might see flashes of the Black Ops 3 Bance. Because he's the X factor at the end of the day for this team. Like, the true X factor. He needs to play well, because you know what Kleenex and Cammy are going to do, and Insight. Bance is kind of, you don't know what you're going to get.
I'm not even asking for what he did in the final was incredible. I'm not really asking for that. That's
Well,
that's unrealistic. I just want him to stay at this high level of play in general. Just something up there where, because like you said, he was like top 3 in the game. I don't expect that going forward. I don't think that's fair to him. But I do think that we can expect him to be top 10, top 15, just a consistent performer on the map. And if he does that, I think that Toronto can actually stay at the top of this list and consistently compete for those finals.
I agree with that.
So, do your moments of the week then maybe involve either of those two players? No surprise, right, that MVPs are going to come from Toronto considering.
Has to.
They have to, right? They have to. They looked so incredibly good. But moment of the week, perhaps maybe some other teams involved. We'll have to see what it
Was it that point 0.1 control loss?
0.1
So I oop you and then you just steal my thunder. Okay.
My bad, bro. But like, what? That's a
Minnesota
big
collapsed after that.
supreme throw. The supreme and utter. And that was the part of the whole Dallas is winning close games where they're not supposed to win things.
How many
That's
times
like,
has Dallas done that on that point, by the way? Multiple times they've clutched up last-minute offensive rounds on that point.
It's more than it should be.
Yeah.
right. That was a rocker win.
They couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe it. Everyone couldn't believe it. We're like,
I mean, that was just like a meltdown from Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think that changes the whole landscape of the rest of the tournament.
it really could, yeah.
With how Empire's been playing and Minnesota, I think if Dallas doesn't get that 0.1 clutch, I think Empire loses to OpTic in the losers bracket. They don't get third. I think Minnesota has a good chance of actually being in the finals. So it just changes everything. So that was definitely a crazy moment. But
I mean, it's true. And OpTic historically is extremely momentum based.
oh, I
once
think they
once
would have
rolling,
I think
Yeah.
they would have rolled.
they get scarier and scarier and scarier, and like who knows how things gonna.
Especially with how Empire is playing. I think OpTic played better than Empire in this major, even though they didn't get a better placing. I know that might sound crazy.
I mean, they only beat the Search.
They only but
You know what I mean? So it's hard to.
that's fair. OpTic should have beat Minnesota.
Okay.
Just like Minnesota should have beat Empire, right?
Fair enough. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Which will lead me into my moment of the week, by the way, which is that 1v3 by accuracy. But like those should not have happened. In a million situations, they happen once.
We're agreed.
And once only. But Empire just looks shaky. But anyways, my moment of the week, 1v3 by accuracy, sending Minnesota to play Toronto, I believe, right?
Yes.
And OpTic out of the tournament. This is my moment of my moment just because I'm interested to see how the future unfolds for OpTic. I think they're gonna just kind of stand up, forget about it, and whatever. But that's a heartbreaking loss. And the crazy thing is people are looking at them like they played horrible in this major. I actually was talking to Scump about it. It was like they literally you can't even make that up. What happened? Who knows if they could have made a run and been in the finals.
They could have, yeah.
If they don't lose that way, right? But because they lost that way, people are like, they got 5th, 6th, or whatever. They're not a good team. And you know as well as I do the players on that team. Like I wonder how that's going to affect them moving forward, or if it will at all. You know, maybe not. But I think the chirping on social media could get to some of them.
It definitely does get to some of them. That's a fact. We know that.
I mean, it's hard not to when you have that many people in your mentions.
They're also so much bigger than everyone else. Whatever chirping everyone else gets, they get it on a different scale.
Yes, that's fair. Yeah. But so I'm interested to see if they use this loss, the luckiest clutch ever, as motivation, to really like escalate them to the next tier, to being a championship team. Or if they can't handle the pressure, I guess, of all these people just continuously saying how bad they are as a team.
Well, we'll have to see. I'm sure there will be tweets about it if they have opinions about how people are talking. But least valuable player.
Katie's talking about.
We're not gonna get too into the weeds of that. But least valuable player are LVPs. Enable, you have to go first.
I have to go first?
I'm making you go first.
Okay.
Yes. So who is your LVP from the major?
LVP for the major. You ready for this? You're not going to expect this.
I'm going to expect it.
LVP from the major, Slasher.
What?
Ooh.
No, I'm not going to expect it. He didn't play. He didn't play in the major.
The team looked way better. Who would have thought? Who would have thought, honestly, a team without Slasher as the main AR with Kenny could be better? Listen, I love Austin. Austin is one of my favorite teammates. This is all respect. But now I think it's gotten to the point. This is why I have him as the LVP. It's gotten to the point where people were like, you need to have like you were kind of putting it on the players that were teaming with Austin, right? Like you need to have tough skin. He's a champion. He's a leader. He's got the Michael Jordan mindset. I think we're starting to turn the tides where he's getting like the parasite treatment. Like it's starting to go that way where it's not oh, you got to have tough skin to play with Austin. We can't play with him.
You got to put up with Austin.
Yeah, and because he, it's online. I know there's a lot of different factors that go into it. He hasn't been performing like Slasher of old. The personalities, the attitude, how he leads his team. They looked way better. They looked like they were having fun. They only had 2 days of practice. They did look like they were having fun.
They smiled.
Yeah, they actually saw teeth. They had 2 days of practice. Yeah. I think Kenny looked better than I've seen Slasher so far.
Kenny's been good though.
I know. But like you said, Venom played way better. They all played way better without Austin. Now I know there's only one. There's only one of them. We got to see Major 3. But I think if they keep improving, Austin's going to get a bad rep.
I mean, whatever. That's honeymoon effect.
Am I wrong?
That's defined.
No, I think that's a fair take.
They played better. They played better. I just don't see how Austin can get the hate for it. There's just a honeymoon effect of playing a new team where you don't have strats and you come and play and they just do the thing and have fun.
That's
and
fair.
They won.
That's fair.
And they were winning games.
So then who is your true LVP if you are disagreeing with Ian?
It's Clayster. Clayster came in.
Mayday Arms are having a tough go of it.
Wait, you get love, you also get the other side of it. Yeah. Keep saying that. Clay did not play well. He did not play well. Asim was putting on for the city.
He's incredible.
Trying to get his dub, dropping 40. Clay. It just wasn't there this weekend from the Subliners. And when we go to Clay and we give him all the love for getting the team on the right page, getting the team going to where they need to go to try to get into that final, they looked incredible before this. Where were they? Yeah. They didn't win a map. They didn't come. That was actually a despicable performance. Yeah. Like it wasn't even close. It wasn't like.
I picked New York to make the run all the way.
That's what I'm saying. And a team like that was just gone. So they were out what? Right? I don't even know.
Yeah,
but
they were.
I expect.
They didn't show up. They didn't even go to the tournament.
They didn't show up, and I don't want to hear any excuses after you lose in a spot like that. If you get whooped like that, you just get on the bus and go home. Like, just don't say anything.
Don't say yeah.
Like, I just can't get behind that.
Figure shit out.
Yes, like, we give you all the love when you take these teams with these players, Mac and Diamond Con, and you become a team where we don't expect you to be this good. We give you all the love in the world.
And then on the
other side,
and then you get the spotlight.
Right.
And then you don't win a map.
Do you think there's a roster change that needs to happen because of that?
I mean, we talked about this. I thought the Hydra thing was bad, and it was supposed to be for a team, but Ace has been playing amazing.
I think Ace was the best one on the team, if I'll be honest.
That's what I'm saying. He's cooking.
Incredible. And I think the Hydra thing, we've talked about it a little bit, but when I spoke with Asim, because I put out a tweet earlier in the week about maybe what was happening with New York, and he let me know that there were some issues in terms of the language barrier going on with Hydra. They had no desire to make a team change right now, but Hydra might literally just not be ready in terms of actually being able to communicate effectively enough when he's playing.
Which is fair. I mean,
that's okay.
So maybe he just needs more time to percolate. Work with the language coach, he'll get there.
The CDL it might be damn near the most important. Everyone's got the talent.
Okay.
But if I can't understand my teammate, he can't understand me.
All I'm gonna say, if there's a time for it, is now to give him a chance. I
agree. I do agree.
There's times. Okay, so OpTic had a bad week, right? But bad weeks during regular season are way different than a bad week during a tournament, during a major, during whatever. That you can't. It's just not allowed. That's set in stone. Bad weeks during the regular season, that goes away.
Yeah.
You can forget about that.
I agree.
But yeah, Katie, what about you?
Ooh, LVP. Okay, I'm not gonna say you took Clay from me, but you kind of took Clay from me.
You don't even give an answer.
He doesn't oop nobody. He just he takes the good answer.
Okay. I kind of gotta look at Silly and Gorillas once again, just because Silly was so good before we came into the major, and he was putting up some really incredible numbers. FaZe, Thieves, those series, he looked so good, and I think you needed that from him in the series that Gorillas had, and it just wasn't really there. And maybe I can extend that umbrella to the Gorillas as a whole, but it's like we saw this moment of greatness from them where I was like, wow, you're beating FaZe and you look dominant against Thieves again, and you're 6-0 against Thieves, and then you get to the major and it was like, oh, okay, well, this is maybe back to what we were expecting from you.
I don't know if I can put it just on Silly, just because my.
I think it's just that Silly was the one that played the best when they turned it around.
It's not just Silly. You're right, 100%.
But my take on it is when they did have those performances,
Yeah.
right, where Silly put on and LAG won, I think it was a trap game versus FaZe. You know,
And they played a
and
bad-
then they played LA Thieves with Slasher still, right? Wasn't he?
A bad version of it.
like
a
literally,
horrible
that was his
version.
last.
I mean, they were in shambles already,
Yeah.
so yeah. That's
So
where it
I
went.
think that was almost false confidence, if anything, for LAG. And I don't want to sit here and be that guy because they did win, but it was clear as day to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, those weren't like silly stats, and it could have been anyone, not even silly. Say it was Vivid or
Assault someone, yeah.
Those stats were not real stats. Like,
No, they weren't. Obviously, we said they need to make a team change. They won. I did not back down from that.
yeah.
Some people, like I saw it in the organization, were like making fun of us. You know, they need to make a team change.
Yeah, man.
And I'm
The
like,
Rio
yeah,
and the Ranger.
yeah,
I'm
like,
keep
yeah,
back.
like
It's-
turn back the clock a little bit.
They have to.
You have to.
LAG as a whole. I think
Just
that's
know that they told me LVP and they roasted Grillos way worse than I did.
LAG,
Just
we
know.
got to keep account
Just
how many
know.
people get MVPs, LVPs. I think the LAG
Organization.
management is got to have the most. They got to be a
Ooh,
first. Yeah.
maybe.
We don't need to make a run.
Talk about. We'll leave that discussion for another time.